Well, hello guys, it's Troy Francis coming at you from Stockholm in Sweden. Once she has lost respect for you, she will be repulsed by you, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do to change that. Sounds pretty bleak, right? Well, I suppose it is, but it seems to be true. It's something I never knew about. It's a phenomenon that I didn't understand when I was growing up or when I was a teenager or into my 20s really, but it happened to me. The first time it happened to me was a girl that I was dating when I was 20, really my first girlfriend. And we were only together for about 6 months, and I had absolutely zero idea at the time what I was doing in terms of dating, the way that men and women relate to one another, how relationships should be, frame, any of that kind of stuff. I had absolutely zero idea, but I was dating this girl, and she was beautiful. I thought she was amazing. I think in hindsight there were probably some red flags there that I didn't pick up on, but whatever. You know, I was young and she liked me, and I thought it was fantastic. It was amazing. And one of the red flags, I suppose, she kind of love bombed me a bit at the beginning. She was kind of all over me from the start, and it was sometimes when something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And that's certainly a lesson that I've learned over time. I didn't know that at that point. But anyway, she was all over me, and she basically told me she loved me, I think within the first few weeks or whatever. And we were together only for about 6 months. And then we broke up. And basically, without going into details, and it's a long time ago now, I can't even really remember the details in that much detail. But basically, she liked me at first. I was too needy, too clingy, as you would expect from somebody who came from my background, which was basically almost an incel type background, really. And then I met this beautiful girl, and suddenly she was, she was all over me, and she seemed to really love me. And I was overjoyed by that, but at the same time, very quickly I came to need her too much, and I didn't have any other options, and she became aware of that, and she lost respect for me, and rightly so. I mean, no surprises there. I don't blame her for that, but she lost respect for me, and in the end, I think she basically started to play away from home, or at least she started to, go and talk to other guys, and maybe things are happening with other guys or whatever. And we broke. The relationship broke up. We split up. And I remember going around to her apartment to try to say, look, is there anything we can do here? Can we patch this up? Can we make this work? I really love you still. I don't want this to end. All of that good stuff. And I remember going around to the apartment to talk to her, to have one of those post-breakup, conversations. And I just remember the way that she looked at me. She was just looking at me as if I was this complete disdain. And I was crying and all this kind of stuff. And she was just completely repulsed by me, I could tell, viscerally repulsed. And it was such a turnaround from the way that she'd been with me even just a few days or weeks before. And it was very, very hard for me to fathom, really. It was, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand how it was possible for somebody to go from, that kind of warmth, that kind of love, that kind of, whatever it was before, through to literally pretty much despising the person a few weeks later. It just seemed inconceivable to me, and it was a real awakening, I suppose, about I don't want to say female nature, about human nature, about the way that these things work. I mean, I suppose even though I was never completely naive, really, because I had been brought up in a broken home. My parents divorced, and years later my father ended up divorcing again, and there was a lot of problems, I think, in the second marriage that he had, and in certainly in the family. So I'd never been brought up with this incredibly sort of Disney-fied view of marriage and relationships and so on anyway. But in spite of that, I still held on to these somewhat naive ideas, these somewhat sort of rose-tinted ideas about how these things went down. And it seemed, I just didn't realise how easy it was for somebody to just flip a switch and not care about you anymore, seemingly not care about you anymore, after they'd basically been saying how in love they were with you, you know, a few days or weeks earlier. Very eye-opening and profoundly upsetting and profoundly depressing for anybody, I suppose, but particularly for somebody who was of a very sensitive disposition anyway, myself, of course, and somebody who, I suppose, had been suffering from trauma of various kinds. I mean, you start to talk a lot more now in self-help and recovery circles about trauma and the effect that has on somebody growing up into adulthood and the way that they then go on to conduct themselves and the relationships that they get into, and sort of repeating the kind of pain that they've experienced as a child and all those kinds of things. I mean, I didn't really know about any of this stuff then. And there was a lot of emotional stuff from the past that I was repressing, I suppose, at that time. But anyway, you know, the fact that she was able to turn on me so viciously and so completely at that point was, as I say, very profoundly depressing, profoundly upsetting, and very eye-opening. And perhaps, in a way, was I guess what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and perhaps, in a way, I should be thankful for what happened, because I suppose it did toughen me up somewhat. You know, it did. It was a blow, but it was also a blow that kind of made me aware of the game. I say I don't mean the game in terms of, you know, the dating. Well, it is the dating game. I mean, it made me aware of what was happening, how things really worked out there in the world of relationships and sex and everything else. And I just had no idea before. I was very naive, really, when I come to think about it. And look, I don't want to sort of, I'm not here to castigate women or anything like that, because men can behave appallingly as well. And look, I'm not saying I was a great boyfriend. I mean, I was a terrible boyfriend, really. I mean, not because I was cheating on her or anything like that. I didn't do anything like that. But I was, you know, I was just a worse. I was not, you know, the kind of man that she wanted or deserved or whatever at that point. And I don't blame her for not wanting to be with me, to be honest, because I was, you know, very needy. I was a worse. I certainly wasn't anything like I am now, and I think that I've, you know, progressed significantly since those days many years ago. But so I don't blame her for not wanting to be with me, and I can't blame her for her feelings, because her feelings were what they were. Okay, I mean, you know, she was just acting on her emotions, and as I say, I mean, those just were what they were. I can't blame her for that. But it was nevertheless a very eye-opening experience, and it was an experience that was very painful, and really shook me, and sort of shook my worldview, I suppose, because for somebody who had lacked love, or felt that I'd lacked love as a child anyway, you know, and was probably in some way searching for some sort of a mother replacement figure, in a way, to sort of have it given to you and then ripped away so cruelly and so completely, so fast, as I say, was quite a traumatic thing in itself. So look, I mean, but the more general point here is firstly, you've got to be aware that this kind of thing happens, and it's not really anyone's fault. It's not that girl's fault. It wasn't really my fault. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. And she was just acting probably on instinct and emotion. But it happened, and this kind of thing does happen, and it's very, very easy. I think it's easier for women to ruthlessly just cut the guy off. It's a bloody motorway down here. I think it's easier for women, for some reason, to be able to just ruthlessly cut a guy off in a way that guys don't seem to do as much. And there's been reasons speculated for why this is the case, notably because in times gone by, you know, women would have to quite quickly get over a former partner if he was killed in war or, you know, in famine or out foraging or hunting or whatever. She would have to get over that guy quite quickly, and often, you know, just fall in love with another guy, fall in love with a new provider figure soon afterwards. So it seems to be hardwired into women to be more ruthless than men. Not that men can't be ruthless, of course. There's plenty of bad actors out there in the male gender as well. But yeah, women seem to be very capable of doing this, and it seems to be sort of at a biological level in some way. So you have to be aware of this, and you know, we often talk about the cruelty, the ruthlessness of the dating marketplace, and it certainly is a cruel and ruthless mistress, or it can be at times. And you know, you've got to toughen up a bit. You've got to be aware that not everything lasts forever, and you know, somebody can be whispering sweet nothings to you one night, but you know, the very next day she might be telling you to pack yourself and get out because she's having an affair with the local baker. So be aware, understand, be stoical, and learn social skills so that you are not left out in the cold like I am now. You've got to learn those social skills so that you have some sense of abundance and some sense that, okay, look, this is very sad and unfortunate what has happened, but there is hope for me because I know that I can go and meet other people because I have the skill set down. So with that in mind, if you would like to talk to me about your own dating or relationship life and experiences, then drop me a message, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or you can book a free call with me on the Calendly link below. Thanks very much for watching. Do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.